Hello everyone, Ronnie here with Sage Construction. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about the role of a general contractor and the duties and responsibilities of everyone that's involved within a project. General contractors are not architects, we're not draftsmen, and we're not designers. And oftentimes, more times than not, we have customers reaching out expecting that we're going to come in and design their project for them and then pick materials and finishes and everything that's involved within it. And folks, that's simply not the case. Yes, we are here to help guide and facilitate the process and eventually construct what's on the plans. But at the beginning stages, the nascent stages of a project, we have to engage a draftsman, an architect, and a designer at some point. So once we meet with the owner, we go over what the project scope is, kind of what the ideas of the customer are. And at that point, it's time to engage, at minimum, a draftsman. So we could start putting those ideas and thoughts onto paper and start creating something that's constructible. As a general contractor, I can't go into your home and pick out what cabinets you want in there, what flooring you want in there, structurally, what a remodel and material within that remodel is necessary. That's all jobs for people that run calculations and construct things to code. Yes, we go off of code as well, but an engineer is going to know structural code on load-bearing areas and what materials are necessary to make that calculation and load-bearing, in this example, constructible. So the other day I had a customer send me basically a link to a website, and he said, hey, we want to run 8 of these heaters, and I think a 220 volt line would be adequate to run these heaters. Well, my response to that is, we aren't electrical engineers, right? We don't run calculations. We don't run electrical calculations to see what the amp draw on each heater is and how many volts and amps are going to be necessary for all 8 heaters to be running at one time in this space. So the point here is, that's where we come in. That's where we manage and facilitate the architects, the draftsmen, the engineers. We would need to bring a third party in that's going to be able to run those calculations for us and tell us what size breakers we need, what size wire we need to pull, and where those runs are going to end up, and how many heaters can be on each circuit. That's not something that a general contractor would know offhand, but that's where our value comes in. It's because we have all of these people just a phone call away that we go to, their resources, their tools for us to be able to find a constructible solution for the customer. It takes time, it takes money, but that's what's necessary to do things properly. In another cases, if we're going to just, let's say, rehab a full house. Okay, I'm not going to go in there and decide what exterior siding you want, which walls you want removed, what cabinet finishes you want. That's where our designer comes in. And that's where our designer sits down with the customer and goes over different finishes that we have as options to provide an interior. So if you want oak cabinetry, that's the designer's role. You know, what hardware do you want on those cabinets? What type of flooring do you want? What finishes on the flooring? What kind of trims? These are all things that we bring the designer in for, and so that we can all meet together, go over the budget, go over what's constructible, and find a few options that we could really narrow down and eventually nail down to that final set of plans. Remember, at the end of the day, general contractors work off of a set of drawings, a set of plans that tells us exactly what material is needed in different areas of the building. In the residential space, oftentimes the owner's first project, first go at anything construction related. And so a lot of owners have the impression that general contractors are also designers and architects, which we aren't. We're installers. We get a set of plans, we get a set of drawings, and we take those off, and that's what we install according to those permitted, approved plans. That's what tells us exactly what materials go in at what location, with what nail, at what spacing. These are all crucial components of having a sound and stable and up to code structure or remodel, etc. So when we show up to your house, yes, we are here to help you. Yes, we have teams of architects, engineers, designers. We all collaborate with you, the owner, get your ideas, get your thoughts, get your vision. That's what we start drafting and creating those plans based off of what you want and what is required within code, within the state, and within the municipality. There are some variations within those, and those are the people that we have to have on our team to make sure that we're all covered. And going back to the installer versus the designer, general contractors don't carry errors and omissions insurance, which means we're not legally able to design anything. That is for the architects and the engineers. They carry errors and omissions insurance. General contractors don't for that reason. They went to school to do that specialty, and that's what they specialize in. So they carry the insurance as required for that covers them, and it covers us, and it covers the owner if something doesn't pan out. And for you contractors out there, we're not finance companies. So make sure that within each and every one of your projects, you have within that schedule, you have your job schedule, meaning tasks and work to be completed, start date, end dates, and when you're being paid. Because as general contractors, we have a ton of risk out there and we need to protect our money, right? And one way we do that is by making sure that we're continuously getting payments on each project. We can't do a 30-day or a 3-month project and carry all the expenses until the end of that project and get a lump sum payment, right? Yes, there are projects that we carry for 30 days plus, but those projects are with different ownership, and that's part of the contract. So we know in forecasting and financing that, hey, when we hit this milestone, we know once we submit for our payment rec, we aren't being paid for 30 plus days. And we can figure that in to the finances of the business. Now, when we're dealing in, let's say, residential projects, it's very important that we have those payments built in to the agreement documents and into the schedule. That way, the owner and the contractor knows that when this task is completed, we're getting X amount of dollars. That helps us to carry our finances in the business on a monthly basis, weekly basis, however you do your finances and how often you look at them. That way we don't get ourselves into a pinch and we're expecting payment tomorrow, but we didn't write it into the schedule and the agreement, and so we have to go ask for a $20,000 payment that we can't get for another, let's just say, 2 weeks. Well, if you need that money, that's all the more reason that you need to have it clear with the owner on when you're getting paid. That way they know when they're cutting you a check and for how much, and you know when you're collecting that check and for how much. That's going to help you have a successful and thriving contracting business and help minimize the stress on the money and when it's coming in. Forecasting, guys, very important. Let's talk about the 4-letter word, lazy. Contractors, don't be lazy. Laziness equals bankruptcy. That's why in all of our documents and all of our scheduling, everything is airtight, air sealed, locked and loaded, knowing how the project is scheduled out, what subs we need on site, what days, what materials, and based on that schedule, that's how we're going to hold them to the fire. That in our agreement, right? Those are two things that are going to keep you moving forward and keep you profitable, okay? Minimizing your risk in running the business like a well-oiled machine. That way you have all of the answers when you need to have them. If an owner calls you and they're not looking at the schedule that you've provided them and they're asking when's the framers going to be here, you know what day your framer is going to be there by the schedule, and your framer also knows when they're set to be there. Furthermore, on that, let's say framing example, he knows he needs to have material procured in advance to his start date on site. That's a good time for your PM to give them a call, maybe a friendly reminder, and make sure that they're set to be on schedule, on site, on that scheduled and agreed upon date. All right, don't be lazy, don't cut corners. Make sure that every job that you're running is protecting your risk and protecting your money that you've put out there. That's how we do well in this business, and that's what keeps our margins strong and enough money coming in to keep feeding the beast, because this business takes a lot of money to operate, right? We have insurances, we have material, we have employees, we have taxes. In California, there's a million different ways that they hit us contractors. And so by running efficiently and effectively and not being lazy and just saying, I'll let them do that, you have to manage it tight and make sure that you know every dollar that's coming in and when it's scheduled to come in. And that's going to help you to forecast your revenues next month, the month after, and keep your projects flowing. And you also know what margins, where you're at today on a project, where you're at tomorrow, as your project manager is inputting the data into whatever program that you use. We use Monday, for example. Everything goes into there. It's updated daily. That way, at any given time, I can go onto that project in Monday.com. I could hit the financials button and know where we're at financially today on that particular project. It'll give you the percentages that shows you what your margin is, and it changes in accordance with change orders, contract values for subs, and anything else that, the moving parts within that project. And we keep that updated on each project to help us be able to see where we're at on each job and if we need to make any adjustments to maintain the profit that we need within that job to be effective. Homeowners. Contractors are for-profit businesses. Okay, we cannot work for free just like any other business, or we'll be closing the doors. I say this nicely and respectfully, but free estimates, picking out your finishes for you is not our job. Yes, we will, let's say, bring you samples, help facilitate, help direct you into making a decision, but this all takes time and it takes people, and that equates to dollars. So any work that we do for homeowners, we have to have a pre-construction agreement in place. And that pre-con agreement is what gets us working for you, being available for your every phone call, every email, and help guide you, give input, give suggestions, and help get you to the finish line where we can actually start building your vision. We can't do all of this stuff for free. It takes too much manpower and too many resources, and when we have 10 to 20 of those going on at once, we'll end up just spinning our wheels, doing all of these tasks and getting no return. We'll be paying for our people, for their labor, and for their time, but not getting anything in return for that. So it's very important that we get pre-con signed, we come to that agreement, and we go to work for you one-on-one 100% of the time.